Finish him. Or her?
Welcome. And today we'll dive into a couple of great pro-revenge stories and their reactions. Coming up we have homophobic parents made my life hell for 2 months, so I gave them a taste of their own medicine. Plus we have trying to take me home? Better make sure I am who you think. I just know you're gonna love these stories, so this should be a fun session. Hi, this is Derek. I just put the drama llama, Fred, back in his pen so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. If this is your first time watching our videos, help me out by watching to the end, and then giving me some feedback in the comment area below. I do respond to every single one, so don't be shy. And if you want more of these videos daily, don't forget to like and subscribe, with notifications turned on for this channel. Oh boy, let's get ready for some deep-seated revenge. For Your Corpse Husband 04 posted. Homophobic parents made my life hell for 2 months, so I gave them a taste of their own medicine. Background. So back when I was 15, I had a father who we'll call Deadbeat Joe. Deadbeat Joe was the stereotypical deadbeat father, as he almost never contacted me of his own volition. And he resisted paying my mother child support whenever he could, because he hated her as she left him and took his baby away from him, so he took it out on me. His words, not mine. My mother, being the saint she was, never talked bad about him, and tried to endorse a relationship between us throughout my entire childhood. I did love Deadbeat Joe, and would often want to spend time with him, but to no avail, because he was always busy getting his D wet with some rather questionable women. So I was basically forgotten about by him, until the few occasions when he realized he remembered that he did have an older son. Because of that, I was raised by my mother and my stepfather, who I call Dad. They really loved, and still do love me, and they worked them off to make sure that I was well cared for, and provided for. Unfortunately, I and my family had to move away to another state when I was 12. Which meant that my parents ended up buying a house that we moved into. Now, something to mention up to this point, we were very poor, and my parents ended up buying a house after getting a great deal for it. However, the house was in very poor quality, and my parents didn't know that, so we ended up basically getting scammed. My mother lost her job, and over time we ended up becoming so poor, that we ended up having to rely on food banks to supply us with the food necessary to survive. Luckily, or rather unluckily, Deadbeat Joe and his new wife, who we'll call Chris, said that they'd take me in, and that they had a good, decent quality of life, which my parents bought, because to my mother Deadbeat Joe didn't really seem like the type of guy who would lie about something that big. So despite my objections, I hated Deadbeat Joe by this point. I went to go live with Deadbeat Joe and Chris, plus their kids, due to the fact that my real parents were about to lose our home at the time, and they didn't want me to be homeless along with them. At first, they were very welcoming, but after a few weeks, things started to change. Both Chris and Deadbeat Joe had lied, and they were just as poor as my parents were. Over time, Chris had started to show the volatile side of herself, and Deadbeat Joe found out I was gay, which was a problem, due to the fact that he was very Christian. They both really hated how I was LGBT, despite claiming otherwise, as Deadbeat Joe felt that I needed mental help, because he felt that being gay was an illness. They tried to force me to conform to their beliefs, that being gay was wrong, but I refused, which made them very angry. Chris also ended up just being horrible and manipulative to me on a regular basis, as she would do things like setting up a schedule for the time of when us kids could do certain things, refused to let me go to school for no good reason, threatened to isolate me from her entire family if I didn't do what she wanted me to, etc. All of this caused me a lot of stress and anxiety over the 2 months I stayed there, and I would cry a lot in the corner of my room, wishing that the fuses that kept breaking would set the house on fire and take me with it. It built up a lot of anger and resentment within me, and all of the things that Chris and Deadbeat Joe would do and say to me. After a while, the hostility in the house built up, and I would eventually be accused of being a pedophile who wanted to molest my brothers, because Chris said that someone looked up child porn on her cell phone. Deadbeat Joe ended up taking away my phone, and threatening me with knives, which culminated in me taking my phone back, and running away to hide in the bushes outside of the trailer park we lived in. The cops came, my parents manipulated the situation to make it seem like I was a terrible child, and they left. The next week was a living hell afterward, as Chris and Deadbeat Joe kept trying to get a confession out of me, and kept threatening me. But I held my ground, and was able to leave their house and move back in with my parents. By this point, I was seething with rage, but I didn't do anything to them as I wanted to move on. However, a month after I left her house, I remembered the smug face Chris made throughout the week. She kept me a prisoner in her house and kept trying to ruin my life. I decided that I hated her too much to not retaliate against her and her husband. So that's what I ended up doing. The revenge. I decided that I would sign Chris up for all the spam/junk mail I could find using the information I could find online and on the school directory of the school she worked at. Looking to hear the sacred word of Scientology? Click. Want to hear about our crappy products that will fall apart after one use? Click. Want to see some hot sexy women get it on with each other? Click, click, click. Next, I decided to send Chris's family some recordings I took of some of the things that she would say to me. During my stay at Chris's house, I had recorded the things that she was saying to me, so I had evidence to show my parents that she was abusing me. I ended up sending those recordings to all of her close friends and family before blocking them. They were very bad, so it wouldn't have surprised me if some of them ended up distancing themselves from her after listening to it. Lastly, I decided that I would continue to make Deadbeat Joe pay my mother for what he owed her in child support. I was originally going to ask my real dad to adopt me, but after learning of how much money Deadbeat Joe had to send my mother, around $1,200 per month, I did the math and concluded out of spite that I would let my mother keep on milking him for what he was worth until I turned 18. It's going to be quite a bit of time before I become an adult too, as currently I'm 16, so by the time I have turned 18, Deadbeat Joe will have to legally pay my mother $25,000 over the next few years of my life, which is definitely not something to sniff at. Resolution. I never heard back from my evil parents after I carried out my revenge against them. So I don't really know how their immediate reaction towards what I'd done. However, after going back to the school directory to see if any changes were made to it, I discovered that almost all of the teachers' info was scrubbed from the site, and my stepmother's name was nowhere to be found. I connected the dots and it made me realize that I had caused an entire site-wide change, and the reason why I'd never heard back from my abusive parents was because of how badly I had humiliated Chris. And I knew that Chris would have flogged Deadbeat Joe if he dared try to talk to me again. After realizing this, I laughed so hard I almost pissed myself, and I left the school's website. Currently, I am studying for an exam that will earn me certification in an aspect of design, which is important for the field I want to get into. I am taking my education seriously, and I now have opportunities that I wouldn't have been afforded had I stayed at Chris's house. I have made some new friends, and have now moved on from the things that my parents did to me. What are your thoughts on this incredible story? Please share in the comments below. Now here's how some Reddit members reacted to this story. Valuable Piece 8307 reacted with: you might want to look into adult adoptions after you turn 18. I don't know much about them, but I do believe it's a thing. Your dad's username reacted with: it's so hard to hear how so many people use being very Christian as an excuse for hating people. You deserve to be loved. I hope you know you still do. What a bunch of great reactions. Now on to the next story posted by Feminine Threw Away. Who posted: trying to take me home? Better make sure I am who you think. Unsure if this counts as pro-revenge, but I like to think so, on behalf of catcalling victims everywhere. Alright, so to understand the story, you have to understand a few things about me. I am a 19-year-old guy. With a boyfriend. I'm often told I have a very feminine body. I've posted in the femboy sub here and there with a positive response. But this is a throwaway, and I'm not going to link anything for privacy reasons. I was out on a date a few weeks ago with my boyfriend, who I'll refer to as Alex, 20. For storytelling's sake, I'll go by Liam. We had just finished a movie date, and decided to roam the dark streets of nightly NYC afterward. Just to chat and spend time together, as we don't live together. It's important to note that I was dressed up like a girl. I'm talking a crop top and skirt, plus some thigh highs. Come for me all you want, I like to feel pretty, Mao. I was waiting outside the convenience store, while Alex grabbed some snacks when a tall man, early 20s, and dressed like your local dealer, walked up to me and tried to act sexy. I'll refer to him as Creep. Creep? What's up, baby? I know you shouldn't be out here so late, all alone. I said nothing. Creep. Now, come on, babe. When a man speaks to you, you respond. How about we go back to my place? Now, here's something I haven't mentioned. I have a highish voice. Still masculine, but high enough to wear. If I try, I can muster up a good female voice. So I do. Me. No. Not interested. Creep. Come on, I don't bite. I just want to have a little fun. He got closer. I shook my head. At this point, Alex comes out with a bag of our snacks and notices the scene. Alex. Everything all right, babe? Creep. Babe? What, you're with this loser? Come on, let me show you what a real man can do for you. He put his hand on my hip. Alex started to walk forward, but I signaled for him to stay back. I had a plan. I put my hand on Creep's, then wrapped his arm around me and cuddled into his chest. He smelled like cigarettes, disappointed parents, and failed dreams. I look up at him, still in my girl's voice. Oh. Him? Don't mind him. If you want me. Then I switched to my normal voice. Then you can have me. Immediately he pushed me into Alex's arms and storms off. Yelling obscenities, mixed with a few homophobic slurs here and there, plus some transphobia tossed in for good measure. I and Alex both go into hysterical laughter, nearly falling over each other. Once we calm down, he looks at me. You're really an a-hole. You gotta stop doing that to guys. He chuckled. Hey, they all approached me. Arm Wolf reacted with. Classic. It really doesn't get better than that. Have you tried complimenting their butts as they stomp away? It's just the cherry on top of that middle finger. And finally, Synthetic God 8 reacted with. Funny story, but please be extra careful doing that in the future. You never know who's got a knife, or a gun, and is crazy enough to use it in a hate crime. Oh, hadn't thought of that. Thank you for cautioning him. To be fair, his man was there, so at least he wasn't alone. Well, there you have it. A perfectly great question answered by a bunch of fine and honorable citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off. Thanks for watching. Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. I think he found more drama for me to share with you. See you soon.